Good morning, everyone. So, hello, my name is Manolia Vougioukalou. I'm talking to you from Athens in Greece. We would like to thank very much the organizers, especially the BSPB, for this invitation to speak in such an interesting and broad webinar. And happy World Wetlands Day to all of you. I work for HOS, BirdLife Greece, managing a number of Waterbird projects. The work that I will talk about today is mostly funded by the EU and the Greek Green Fund as part of an EU LIFE project for the conservation of the Dalmatian Pelican. So this species is going to dominate this presentation. Okay, so I will present to you two of the most important coastal wetlands of Greece, that are the Amvarkikos Gulf and the Mesologi Lagoon, which you can see on the map on the left with small blue dots. Amvarkikos, it's on the northwest, and Mesologi a little bit more south. They are both being predominantly saltwater wetlands with some freshwater influx, rivers and streams. The Amvarkikos Gulf is the largest closed gulf in Europe, in fact, and it hosts the largest number of wintering waterbirds of Greece. 60% of the total national millimeter counts come from this area, from Amvarkikos, while Mesologi Lagoon hosts the highest number of wintering waterbird species in Greece, which are 89 just waterbird species. They both host the Dalmatian Pelican colonies. In the map, you can see with the remainder of the blue dots, you can see the rest of the Dalmatian Pelican colonies in Greece. The Mesologi pelicans have originated from the Amvarkikos colony, that is one of the oldest colonies, together with Prespa, that hosts the largest Dalmatian Pelican colony in the world. The Dalmatian pelicans on the west coast do not interact with the ones in the rest of the country. And this is mainly because Greece is divided in half to east and west through the mountain range of the Pindos Mountains. So it is very rare, on very rare occasions, we have seen Dalmatian pelican on one coast going over to the other side. So the west coast, they move along the coast of the Balkan Peninsula, and they are considered a separate population that is also more vulnerable due to its smaller size. They are also the only colonies in Greece that are located on saltwater wetlands. We can go to the next slide now, please. These two colonies of Amvarkikos and Mesologi are considered robust colonies. They're strong colonies, healthy colonies. They each have approximately 150 pairs of Dalmatian pelicans each. The pelicans in these sites, they nest on either islets made from leftover rubble from roadworks and dike work that happened many years ago, or on natural islets within the lagoons. And while the colonies are surrounded by salt water, we have in fact noticed that the pelicans, they mainly feed in freshwater areas and gather downstream of pump houses, especially when they're in operation, pumping fresh water out into the lagoon. One of the pump houses can be seen on the top right of the slide, and right next, it's the previous slide, please. Previous slide, please. Sorry, thank you. And just next to the pump house, you can see the pelicans on the bottom right feeding. Also, we have seen that they feed their young carp-type fishes, like the one in the picture. So they might breed in saltwater wetlands, but we have seen a clear preference in freshwater fish. Next slide, please. In the framework of the Life Pelican project, we managed to tag with satellite transmitters 2 Dalmatian pelicans last year. Maestros was a young bird that you can see in the picture in the middle, and he was caught in Mesologi Lagoon using a leg hole trap placed on a roosting islet. The area, this lagoon is very challenging for trapping, as there are many roosting sites for the pelicans to choose from, and very shallow lagoon waters that do not allow fast or easy maneuvering of our boats. The lagoon is so shallow that sometimes the water, it's only perhaps 20 centimeters deep. Additionally, the birds cannot be lured as they can be in other areas. And the extreme saltiness of this water erodes and slowly destroys our traps. And the deep mud makes walking in the lagoon also very difficult. We have now made additional loop traps with help from Bulgarian colleagues, and we thank them for that. And we now hope for better luck. Dalmatian chicks are also ringed on the colonies during the breeding season. In our tracking data, which you can see on the map on the right, with a purple color, you can see that the West Coast pelicans remain mainly on the West Coast, not mainly, actually exclusively on the West Coast. They show limited movement, and we have limited movement throughout the year. And we have also observed that they feed quite actively, in fact, during the night. Next slide, please. Thank you. As many saltwater wetlands are, our sites also host a number of commercial or other activities, recreational and others, that result in electrical wires crossing important bird sites right in the middle of the national park. We conducted a 12-month survey where we assessed our 2 sites. And unfortunately, we found over 13 Dalmatian pelicans and a number of other birds dead from collision with overhead wires. Pelicans are big, cumbersome birds that are particularly vulnerable to collisions and the subsequent electrocutions during their flights because they often fly in very low light conditions at dusk and dawn, and the wires, they do not see the wires early enough in order to be able to avoid them. Next slide, please. On this map, you can see with the small white squares and the green birds, you can see where the breeding sites are in the Ambrachikos lagoons. There are 2 sites. And highlighted with yellow, you can see the lines, the assessed power lines that cut through their feeding and breeding sites. And in the framework of this LIFE project, we are now developing a working relationship with the company that manages the medium voltage electricity network in Greece in order to install bird diverters in the lines and reduce the collision incidents. This is quite uncharted territory for Greece. Bird diverters have not been put in the past anywhere in Greece. So the company is also a little bit reluctant and hesitant to install such contraptions on their wires. So it is a slow process that we think that once it gets a head start, it's going to provide multiple benefits to many different species in Greece that suffer from collisions and electrocutions. Next slide, please. There are many threats to our 2 wetlands that I have been presenting to you. The west coast of Greece, it's a little bit like the Wild West. It is infamous for its illegalities in wetlands. Ambrachikos is one of the last areas where waterbirds could be found for sale illegally in local restaurants. It is illegal in Greece to sell hunted animals. And HOS often receives complaints regarding illegal hunting during winter within these areas. Hunting in these areas is allowed, in fact, within very important areas for the waterbirds, very near the Dalmatian Pelican colonies and inside the national parks. And due to the vast size of these wetlands, hunting is very largely unregulated. The most important threat for our pelicans in these saltwater wetlands is disturbance, which can lead to a reduced breeding success. And due to their affiliation with the cormorants, you can see this in this picture on the bottom left is quite evident. Due to their mixed fishing techniques, Dalmatian pelicans can be persecuted also by fishermen. And other birds are persecuted also and even shot, like the pygmy cormorant you can see in the picture on the bottom right. Disturbance can also be caused by other activities like recreation activities like water sports. Even very keen bird photographers can cause great damage in the colonies of these birds. And most recently also the drone photography and video that has become very popular in sites like this. Please, next slide. Our saltwater wetlands are, however, ideal for environmental education, awareness, and ecotourism, as they are easy to access by road and they neighbor with villages and towns. They are ideal for bird watching and host a variety of species, usually in very high numbers, and they also host often bird rarities. The two sites that we discussed, Ambrachikos Gulf and the Mesologi Lagoon, also provide very high-end commercial products that are a unique selling point of these areas and include fresh and fairly cheap fish, the botarga that is famous for the Mesologi area, which is a fish roe from the Newgillcephalus species, large shrimp, unique to the Ambrachikos area, and of course, salt. Next slide, please. So the Mesologi Lagoon is right next to the Mesologi city that is of great historical significance to the Greek people. And its position in the middle of the national park creates easy access for the locals to be able to have unique and intimate experiences of the wetland. Dalmatian pelicans can often be seen flying above the town and fishing very near the dikes. A fantastic example of local and participatory action on conservation and also cultural issues is a local NGO called Mesologi by Locals. I know that they are attending this seminar and they can see this presentation. Alexandra και παιδιά, γεια σας, καλημέρα. They are an initiative run by young locals who operate an information hub at the town center, organize wetland tours. They run an annual local festival, and generally, they take every opportunity this area has to offer, and they showcase it in the best possible way. The map you can see on the right is the map of the Klissova Lagoon, which is where the main colonies of the Dalmatian Pelican are in the area. They have created this map where and encourage people to cycle through it, and different sites and points of interest are shown on this map. I highly recommend that you look them up on social media. You can just type their name in order to get ideas on how to involve community engagement in active conservation. Today, they're also hosting later on an online event dedicated to the lagoon, and its historical formation, and like us, also celebrating this day, the World Wetlands Day. Next slide, please. So inside the National Park of the Mesologi Lagoon, 1,000 hectares are occupied by the Mesologi Salinas, salt works, where 80% of Greek salt is produced. Both the chief executive officer and the staff have shown great interest in conservation and seek some form of partnership into a new project. The company manages all the other smaller salinas in Greece, and it is a very good opportunity to collaborate and link wetland conservation with business. And since all Greek salinas are managed by the same company, there's very high replication potential. Such a project would be a first for Greek salinas, and we are we are seeking, also through this webinar, why not? We are seeking new ideas and collaboration. So if you're working in this field, we would love to hear from you. Within this salinas, we plan to include actions like of bird diverters. Bird collisions take place on a daily basis. On the picture on the bottom right, you can see it is quite a recent, few months ago, photo of a Dalmatian Pelican who died from a collision and electrocution. And flamingos clash almost daily to these wires, also causing significant problems with the electricity provision of the salt works. Flamingos have tried to nest in the salinas so far without success. You can see that they have created nests. There's the picture in the middle of the slide is of flamingos nests. So we are also thinking of including actions regarding habitat and water management for birds, and improving the breeding opportunities for breeding birds by creating nesting islands or platforms for waders and other species, and also to take advantage of the opportunities of ecotourism that this area has. And this is the end of my presentation. You can go to the next slide that just says, thank you very much for your attention, and happy World Wetlands Day to all of us again. Thank you very much.